Oh boy. Look, it's a company that used to make games. That used to be a cool company, Konami. They used to be amazing. They used to actually release stuff. Hi, I'm playing Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Why? I don't know. It's one of my favorite games ever. Big fan. Have been since I first played it way back when. Secondly, I guess it's sort of appropriate because in 3 weeks, Bloodstained, the sort of spiritual successor to this, comes out, which I'm very excited about. I'm a Kickstarter backer. I'm in the credits, not to toot my own stupid horn. Really, it's not smart to brag about literally throwing money at a product that doesn't actually exist when you throw the money at it. But yeah, we're going to play Castlevania Symphony of the Night. If you're familiar with Castlevania, sit back, relax, maybe you'll learn something, because I've learned a few weird tricks, a few new things here and there about this game, which I have played probably more times than I can count on two hands. If you have never seen this game before, really, you're in for a treat, because it's really quite a unique experience. As a disclaimer, though, and I should be very upfront about this, I am playing this on my PlayStation 4 Pro. This is part of the Castlevania Requiem digital set that Konami put out like last October, I think. It's either October or November. It's a set that includes Castlevania Rondo of Blood, which is the prequel to this game, which you may or may not even be aware exists. Play it. It's a really good game. If you get a chance to play it, it's not really easily available as like a physical copy of its original release, but however you choose to play that one, and I promise I won't tell anybody if you did something goofy, play that game. It's really good. It's one of my favorite classic Castlevanias, but this is like the point where Castlevania went from 2D side-scrolling, level-based action platformer to straight-up Metroid-esque adventure action game with RPG elements. It's a really cool game. But also, to be even more upfront, the reason I actually bring up the fact that this is part of the Requiem collection on PS4, this is not actually the PlayStation 1 version of the game. This is actually the PSP version of the game, which was an unlockable for or within the Rondo of Blood remake that came out on PSP, I think back in 2006. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. Please like, subscribe, comment, hit the little bell, and please tell me if I'm wrong. God, I feel like I shaved off about 10 years off my lifespan just saying that. Goddamn, that felt weird. Like I felt a chill run down my left arm when I did that. I don't know if that's my heart failing or if that's just the nature of when you're shilling yourself somehow. But joking aside, so this is the PSP version of the game. I know I'm kind of rambling here, but bear with me. It's different. It's not the PlayStation game. It is not the PlayStation game. There are some very key differences that I will try to point out as they occur. For fans of this game, you will probably notice within the next 40 seconds some big ass changes if you have not actually experienced or seen anything of this version of Symphony of the Night. Anyway, okay, here we go. Gotta use my own name. I'm one of those dumb people. I am not afraid of the internet. I'll just toss my real name out there. Could have just probably fit my credit card number on there too, actually, now that I think about it. I don't think they had numbers. I don't know. Anyway, I guess I could give a quick backstory to what's going on here real quick. Like I said, Symphony of the Night is a prequel to Rondo of Blood. I don't know. I'm not gonna give a rundown of Castlevania lore. It's wildly inconsistent and kind of dumb. All I can say is that at some point, I don't know, the games previous to this didn't really take themselves that seriously, nor did they take any of the previous games that seriously. This is probably, I believe this is the first Castlevania game where the writers genuinely were trying to make like very specific connections to previous titles and you know, timelines and so on and so forth. So but yeah, this is now loading screen, final stage Bloodline. So funny fact, this game starts with a kind of prequel setup. This is actually the last stage of Rondo of Blood. So you run in, we're fighting Dracula.
Die now and leave this world. You'll never belong here.
Oh, I'm having a headache.
But this world invited me. Your own kind called me forth with praise and tribute.
Tribute? You're a thief. You steal men's souls, their freedom.
Freedom is always sacrificed to faith, good hunter. Or are you truly here by choice?
All I'm here for is you. To hell with your heresy! You're nothing but a blight on mankind.
Ha! Mankind. A cesspit of hatred and lies. Fight for them, then, and die for their sins!
So yeah, so there's your first major change, really, in the game, is that all of the spoken dialogue in the game, of which there is a little, not a lot, but there is a little. Keep in mind, this is a very kind of early in lifespan of PlayStation. This was before Metal Gear Solid and several other games kind of really set the stage for voice acting in video games. But yeah, all of the dialogue has been completely rewritten and retranslated, relocalized, I suppose. And for some reason, well, probably just for convenience sake, they hired different voice actors to do the characters. Myself, I don't really mind it. I do, of course, have a bit of a soft spot for the original game's extremely I will put it this way, extremely purple prose when it came to how that game was localized initially. But this is not so bad. It's a bit more anime-ish, I guess, sort of, but not in a bad way. I don't know. I feel like I could actually get used to it overall without much issue. I don't know. I know there's some people who are like, it's terrible, it's the worst thing, and it's like, no. Nah, I've heard worse. It's really not that bad. And also, this, in case anybody is really confused what the hell is going on, yes, the entire premise of Castlevania is that those of the family named Belmont are tasked with killing Dracula whenever he is like resurrected or comes back to life, and so that's what I'm doing now. Is I'm killing Dracula. So wish I had a better way of explaining this, because this really it's one of those games like it was very much a product of its time. It was just some people at Konami were like, we want to make a game about killing vampires, and they're like, all right, well, cool. So yeah, Dracula. Also too, and just as shorthand, frankly, I think I'm so happy that Netflix actually did it. If you have actually watched the Castlevania Netflix show, you are basically caught up. You're already there. You good. Like, you don't even really need an explanation. It's just like, yeah, got it. Because incidentally, though that show is very much... We'll let Dracula have his moment. Though that show is very much a full-on adaptation of Castlevania 3, there are tons of elements in that show that are literally pulled directly from this game, so...
Dracula had risen with the aid of the Dark Priest Shaft to menace humanity.
John Shaft?
The legendary vampire hunter, Richter Belmont, stood against him.
That wasn't funny, by the way. It's...
However,
nothing funny.
On a glaring full moon night, Richter mysteriously vanished. Maria Renard set out to find him, but knew not where to begin. It was then that fate Castlevania, the Castle of Dracula, rumored to appear once every century, suddenly materialized from the mist, as if to show her the way. Meanwhile, powerful forces struggled for the soul of a man named Alucard. He who had once fought alongside Trevor Belmont against his own immortal father, Count Dracula himself. To purge the world of his own cursed bloodline, Alucard had submerged his vampiric powers and fallen into what was meant to be eternal slumber. But now, he awakens to the cackles of evil and cries of the innocent. The eternal battle of good and evil has come full circle once more. Dracula's castle beckons for you. And no man can say who will emerge victorious.
So yeah, that entire narration is new too. Original game, you just had to read it, just a text scroll, you know. I don't mind it, mind you, but my biggest pet peeve about that entire narration is that and you know, this may out me as a crazy man, but I find it very obnoxious that that text scroll finished, but the narration continued because it hadn't, like, it all fell out of sync, and for some reason the narration was lagging behind. I don't know. I don't know. If I were in the studio that day, I would have been like, no, it's got to be synced perfectly. It's really off-putting. It's not as dramatic as you think it is. Oh, and yeah, we've actually started the game now. So as the narration explains, I am now playing as Alucard, the son of Dracula. I don't really know what else to say beyond that. He's literally Dracula's son. Matter of fact, funny fact, if you haven't figured it out, Alucard, A-L-U-C-A-R-D, if you spell it backwards, is Dracula. Admittedly, that is a product of, once again, Castlevania 3, where he was first playable. He was actually a playable character in that game on the NES. And they brought him back for this one because by God, it was 1997, and Anne Rice novels were all the rage, and Konami's dev team over there, they were just like, we need an effeminate, sexy male vampire. And the only one they literally had in their entire roster, it was like, well, we've got Kid Dracula and Alucard. So obviously Alucard, you know, won that fight, but...
Alucard, what is your business here?
I've come to put an end to this.
Ever the insolent boy. But there will be no games here. If you will not behave, be gone.
I will do neither. Step aside, old man.
Such arrogance. Very well. But I shall see you very soon.
Yeah, so, okay, so... that's another staple, Castlevania. He's been there since the first game. Dracula, for whatever reason, has some kind of pact or some kind of partnership with the physical embodiment of death. So he shows up in every game. In this game, he takes away all of my awesome stuff because now I have nothing. Previously, I had the Alucard's shield, Alucard's sword, Alucard mail, the necklace of J, I think, and I like a steel helm and something else. And now I have nothing because death took it all away from me. Now, to kind of explain what's going on with this game and why it's sort of like different, up to Rondo of Blood, Castlevania games had, strictly speaking, always been 2D side-scrolling action platformers. They were stage-based, so you'd go from point A to point B to the stage. It would go, you know, oh hey, congratulations, beat the boss, boom, go to the next stage. They were also kind of, they weren't like super horrifyingly difficult, but they weren't like easy. You know, like you were very slow, and your jumps were kind of weird, and like once you actually started jumping, you couldn't change direction in the air, stuff like that. And so the story goes, and I am quoting this from memory, and I'm probably completely wrong. But the story goes that one of the directors, because there's two directors credited on this game. There's Koji Igarashi, who was the second guy to come on, and then there's another gentleman that was previous to him. And the story goes that I think it was the previous director. He didn't like the fact that all the classic Castlevanias, like if you fell into a pit, you'd instantly die. So he was like, can we get rid of that? And so their solution, oddly enough, was to basically make the game like Metroid. So instead of there being stages and levels, it's just one big, awesome map. There's no instant death pitfalls. There's no, live system. There's save rooms, just like Metroid. And the progression is similar to Metroid. You explore the castle, fight bosses, collect, in this case, relics that give you new abilities and new transformations and things like that. It's a fun game. I like it. I was very pleased with this game when I first played it. Now, of course, there are some trade-offs with that. One of those happens to be the difficulty of the game. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that that the game is like piss easy. It's easy, but it's not like stupid easy. Like if you're not paying attention, if you're kind of running on autopilot, unless you're in the very, very late game, you are probably going to get yourself killed, which is what I'm about to do probably at this point. Judging by my horrible platforming right now. But otherwise, it's really not that bad. It's pretty simple to get through. Nothing too difficult. It's nothing too complicated. I need to equip that immediately. But it has its moments. I'll put it that way. Especially in the early game. Because just like any Metroid game, or any game like this, Metroidvania, whatever you want to call it, I have come to absolutely despise that term in my current age. Metroidvania is just such a stupid, like, it's effective as shorthand, if assuming you know what Castlevania or Metroid are, but I don't know. It's just I hate it. It's a dumb term, but yeah, it's, early game is kind of difficult, but the longer you play and the more stuff you get better weapons, you'll get better armor, you'll get more abilities, and by the end of the game, you're literally steamrolling through anything that looks at you. Also, too, I should probably point this out. Again, there are some light RPG elements in this. You actually do level up. There's an experience system. You do have stats, though. I think strength is like attack damage, and luck is like drop rate. Intelligence and concentration, I'm not really sure. I can take a guess as to what they actually control, but I've never actually looked at it, because stats really do not matter in this game that much. But of course, we have equipables. Alucard's got access to tons of different weapons, swords, katanas, like brass knuckles, maces, and rods and stuff. He's got a ton of weapons. He can equip shields, and he's got all this other stuff. And this game has a ton of items to pick up and equip, and it's just stupid. Like, it gets to a point where there are so many different, like, items, armor, weapons, you name it. Like, eventually it just gets to a point where you're picking up stuff that is either essentially useless, except for one specific thing that it might be good at, or it's so OP that it breaks the game. So we're hopefully in this playthrough, and I'm hoping I can do a full playthrough at this point. I should be able to. I'm going to try to take it at a fairly even, normal, laid-back pace. But by the end of this playthrough, we should see a whole bunch of different weapons and all sorts of stupid shit. Things that you probably wouldn't even think was a thing, and this game probably has it. Also, too, I have to point out the enemy designs. This is something also I find fascinating about the Castlevania games in general. As much as I love Alucard's sprite and just his general, just the general design of his character sprite, it's just awesome. I absolutely love all the enemies more. Castlevania games have kind of, I think by now, as long as you're familiar with the 2D ones, have kind of become known for just the sheer amount of sprite work, sprite animation involved with all of the different enemy types, and there, I mean, I promise you, there is a ton of them, just tons. Early game, you're not going to see a whole lot of amazing stuff yet, but don't worry, give it time. We're going to get there, and you're going to start seeing some stuff that's just wacky, goofy, crazy. You're going to see cryptids, you're going to see folklore monsters, you're going to see ghosts, goblins, zombies, werewolves, you name it. Like every universal horror monster is in this game. It's really neat. So if you're kind of a fan of stuff like that, as I am, this game is just full of stuff like that. It's great. Also, too, here's our first boss. The game itself, obviously, there's going to be some bosses throughout the game. Usually you get stuff for beating them, health upgrades, relics, etc. In this case, you only get a health upgrade. This is Slagra, the bird dude, and Gabon, or Gaben, Gabe Newell, I don't know. Gabon and Slagra. These two are monsters that have been, well, I know Gaben has been a thing since the first Castlevania. He was an enemy in that, I believe. Slagra, I don't think actually showed up until maybe Castlevania 4? I could be wrong, though. I really, really need to not fucking die here. Would really rather not die. Then again, I guess we could just get that out of the way. It really wouldn't hurt, but I would rather not. I would really rather not die here. But yeah, Slagra and Gaben, they're kind of classic Castlevania monsters. They've shown up as bosses before. Pretty neat. I like the design, especially Slagra, because it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me as far as what it's supposed to be. Like, I really don't know what Slagra is. It's like a bird person, or maybe a skinless lizard man? I don't know. In any case, they're dead, and that was really rough. I apologize to anybody who saw that. It was like mildly embarrassing how bad that was. But in my defense, and this is honest to goodness the truth, I think one of the hardest things I have ever attempted to do, is actually attempt to play a video game and talk about it as I'm doing it, and try to be at least somewhat informative while doing so. It is surprisingly weird and tricky to navigate. Also, too, I should probably mention the music, because it's very hard for me not to mention the music when I'm playing a Castlevania game. The soundtrack to this one is composed by a woman by the name of Michiru Yamane, or Yamane, I should say, and it is one of my favorite. It is one of my favorite albums ever. Basically, it's not just it's one of the best video game music. No, it's like in terms of albums that have ever been pressed, music CDs that have ever been burned. This is one of the best I have ever heard. Right now, though, it's kind of sort of bog standard medieval fantasy kind of castle-y stuff, with the exception of the opening area, which was kind of synthy and kind of high energy. I will tell you this much: this game goes places as far as its music. That's why I love it so much. You will, as we progress, as we go through the game, you'll see what I mean. It goes from downright like atmospheric to just straight up acid funk jazz, and it's just even when compared to later Castlevania games, I really cannot think of a single. I really cannot think of many games that have just the amount of just the eclectic attitude that this soundtrack has. It's just phenomenal. It's really really good. Oh. And I do, for the love of God, any headphone users, I do apologize. Normally I would, yeah, really normally. Normally I would actually control the in-game audio to a certain extent, either through a menu or something. You know, usually I would be able to say, hey, I need to bump the volume down a little bit. Well, because of the nature of this release of the game, for whatever reason, there is no audio option to speak of, either on the front-end menu of Castlevania Requiem or within the menu system, the system menu of Symphony of the Night as I'm playing it right now. There is none. Nothing. So I cannot control the volume of the game as I would like to. If I could, I would. Please don't hate me. I love you regardless. But yeah, it's a little obnoxious, and I do apologize. And I can only say with utmost certainty it will eventually get better, but it will also get worse. Because the enemies in this game, they are very emotive, I guess is the best way to put it. If a good chunk of them have some kind of death animation that's specific to them, and a lot of times there is an audio cue attached to it. So like the axe armors here, you know, every one of them will do that every time I kill them. So apologies. Yeah. So yeah, this is the marble gallery. I guess I could mention that. Not a whole lot to say about it. It's kind of a marble gallery. But I guess I could actually, that sort of brings in the discussion of Dracula's Castle, I guess, to kind of explain another aspect of why I like this game so much. Is that, like, Dracula's Castle in this game is so weirdly random and doesn't make a lot of sense. There's actually dialogue, assuming it's still here in this version of the game. The original PlayStation version, there is an entire line of dialogue that explains why this is, but Dracula's Castle is always weirdly random and has stuff that seems... I don't know if I could use this word, I don't know, it's like a non-Euclidean space, so like, there are going to be moments where I go into different areas of this castle and the backgrounds will literally not make any sense with regards to geography or location of the castle in general. It's really cool, and it sets a really neat mood that a lot of games don't really go for, which I wish more did, but this one does. It does it in its own weirdly subtle way, so it's yet another, like, good reason why I like it. Also, do not mind the marionettes. Now, I could... Matter of fact, I could go down this way, but I'm not. Not yet. There are numerous different reasons as to why I don't want to go there yet. Nothing major, nothing crazy or anything. It's just more of like it's more for the viewer's convenience, because there is no reason to waste our time with an unnecessary game over, and then to have to go back to the main menu, reload, etc. So I'm gonna go back to this save point real quick. Wish I had a stopwatch or something. I have no way of knowing how long I've been recording so far. But I don't know. I have a vague idea of where I want to get to before I call it and then have to slowly but surely upload this video. But yes, trying to think. I'm kind of... Oh my god. Did that really not kill him in one shot? Holy shit. This sword sucks. Oh, I guess I could get that out of the way. You know, hopefully I have no idea.
Wait.
Oh,
Are you human? What are you doing here?
I've come to destroy this castle.
Likewise. I'm Maria. And you are?
Alucard.
Well, if you're a better swordsman than a speaker, perhaps I'll see you again. Farewell.
really do not like her new voice. She sounds like she's 14, and I don't. But I guess I could get this out of the way. I have no idea who or what this will appeal to. No clue. I'm honestly just doing this for fun, and I guess it's more than anything, it's just kind of a weird little virtual outlet for me to just say and do whatever, which is always nice. But if there are any questions, concerns, or tips, or thoughts, or opinions, or critiques, or anything of that nature, by all means, please do not hesitate. Please just leave a comment. I don't really know. I don't really know what else to say beyond that. Like, yeah, like, if anything, literally anything comes into your mind and you want to say it, leave comment. They're always fun to read, sort of. The very few I've ever actually received. Because, you know, I am so well renowned on the internet. I'm trying to think. Because there's really not a whole lot to say about what I'm doing right now. I'm basically just trying to get to the Marble Gallery. I do have a kind of itinerary in my head of where I'm going, and again, where my preferred stopping point might be. Admittedly, though, there is one thing that is going to be slightly different on this playthrough that I have never done before, and I only recently found out about this. There is a thing you can do in the next major area of the castle that I am heading to, and like I said at the beginning of this recording, I have played this game more times than I have fingers to count on my two hands, and I've honestly, like, thought that I've basically kind of covered everything that was ever in this game, you know, personally in my own spare time. But yesterday I watched a video, it's a video that was uploaded. It was I don't know if anybody knows who this is. Vinny from Vinesauce. If you have no idea who he is, look him up. Subscribe to him. Look him up on Twitch. He's great. He's fantastic. One of my favorite streamers. Period. But he had a thing. He did a playthrough of this game. I don't know, 3 years ago. I think. Could be wrong. 3-4 years ago. And anyway, he's playing it, and he's getting to about the point I'm at, though admittedly I would argue he was probably doing a lot better than I'm doing right now. And he got to the next area, and I don't know if, I forget if he knew about it or if somebody on his Twitch chat just happened to drop it, like, you know, drop the hint about it. But he did this thing that I have never seen anyone else do in this game that I did not even know was a thing. So, a game I've played multiple times throughout my years, a game I've known for going on almost 2 decades, and I literally bumped into somebody doing something I've never seen before, and I really need a better sword, because this is just not gonna fucking cut it. This thing blows. Holy Christ. So we're gonna try to do it. We have a problem though, and it's this lovely armor fellow in front of us. It's kind of a, I don't know, sort of a mini boss, I guess, if you want to describe him as that, you can kind of cheese him that way. Thankfully he will not appear again. Okay, so we have this room, this unassuming room. In my normal playthroughs, I would usually do this. This is kind of like a Castlevania. This is like a meme of sorts before memes were a thing. Castlevania games, certain areas of walls and certain stages, you could slap them and, you know, you'd get wall meat, you know, pot roasted stuff. However, let's hold that thought for just a moment. We're gonna go down here for just a second. Here's this grate. Now, normally I cannot pass through this grate. I need a special ability to get through there, as the very big hint window offers. Mist could pass, which is true. That's exactly what you're supposed to normally do. Now here's what Vinny yesterday, is what I saw this streamer who I absolutely love and I think is great. He just went and did this. I'm sitting here watching and I thought to myself, okay, well, you kind of looking dumb here because you've been sitting here for like 10 seconds and nothing's happening. Why are you just standing there? The reason is because this happens. And you can get these two items that in my normal playthroughs previously, I would only ever get after I got the Form of Mist. Now I can just get them freely. So thank you, Vinny from Vinesauce. Again, please go subscribe to him and we'll follow him on Twitch. He is really great. But of course, let's have a look at what we just got. These are kind of, just for the record, these are kind of like mid-game items. They're not really late game. But we got, first of all, the Jewel Knuckles, which, by the way, notice the attack damage difference. We're going from 10 to 25. That's phenomenal. And then we had picked up also the Mirror Cuirass, which is polished to resist stoning. So on top of the fact that it's slightly better than the Hide Cuirass, is that how you say that? Is it Cuirass? 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 Is it Cuirass? I don't know. Leave a comment. Please correct me if you ever get the feeling to do so, because I've seen that word for a long time and I'm not quite. Cuirass? I'm gonna go with Cuirass. That sounds better than Cuirass. That doesn't really make a lot of sense. But this Mirror Cuirass, Mirror Armor, Mirror Mail, makes it to where I can't get petrified anymore. So that's nice. Because petrification is not a big deal, but it is kind of a pain in the ass. So there we go. Now we have this. Which is kind of funny though. The whole funny thing about this is that every time I played this before, I would never use the knuckle weapons. I'd never use like the brass knuckles or anything like that. Part of the reason being is because usually by the time I would get access to some of these weapons, these knuckle weapons, I'd have swords and things that were way better, so I didn't ever understand why I would ever use them. So now with this lovely trick that I never knew about, I can now actually enjoy using them and kind of get an idea of how it feels to use them. Also, that was, I guess, just a dude floating on a boat in the moat in front of Dracula's castle. I kind of rhymed there. That was neat. We're gonna meet him later. He was mentioned in the narration scroll at the beginning of the game after the setup stage. That is the Dark Priest Shaft. Not really sure what else to say about him. He's a dark priest. I mean, that's it. He's a bad guy. He's like a necromancer dude who wants Dracula to rule the world or something. I don't know. Pretty one-dimensional character. Not a whole lot going on with him. Literally no motivation. He's just vaguely evil. That's it. And he wears a purple cloak. And his name's Shaft. You know, which, I don't know, I guess if you're a fan of, like, blaxploitation and stuff, well, I don't know if that, I guess that, I don't know if that's actually, I guess that would be a blaxploitation film of the 70s, Shaft. I don't know if I would really call that, though. I just call it a damn good action film, but that's just my take on that. But yeah, that's about the only joke I can really get. It's just, you know, oh, it's Shaft, like the movie, like that character. Okay, so we have another boss coming up, by the way. I guess I can give him the old 1-2. It's kind of a simple boss, which is something you'll find in this game a lot. A good chunk of the bosses are like surprisingly very simple. Not a whole lot going on with them. I mean, they are literally exactly what you expect in most respects. Like our boy here. I mean, that was it. That was the boss fight. That was a doppelganger, by the way. You know? Not all the boss fights are like that, though, I promise. There are some that are a little more... that require a little more than whatever that was that I just did. I don't know what you call that. Cheesing it a little bit? I don't know. Getting the timing down on his invulnerability frames? I don't know. Pretty simple nonetheless, but... But also, too, yeah, I've got a kick now. That's sort of a cool thing that, you know, like if you just hold forward or neutral, and you do attack in the air with this, you get fists. But if you angle down while you're falling down, you get a drop kick. So it's pretty cool. Kind of liking these jewel knuckles. These things are pretty badass. Ugh, Lord. Oh, Lord. Damn. Tasting my dinner I had earlier. That was... Ugh. There we go. Wow. I love these guys, by the way. They're so neat. Those are the... I forget the... it's like skeleton gunners or something like that, and they are just... they're adorable. They're cloaked skeleton dudes with muskets. And that, I believe, I could be wrong, but I think I am right when I say this, that is literally the only spot in this entire game that you will see that particular enemy. They do not show up anywhere else in this game. Only in that corridor of this area of this castle. It's kind of one of the charms of this era of Castlevania games. Like, they all have these, like, really, for some reason, like these weirdly specific little, like, Easter egg enemies, and enemies that only show up in one specific spot of the castle, or enemies that only show up under certain circumstances. There's a lot of fun stuff like that in this game. Oh, and also, too, the weather's changed out here. That's the other thing about the outer wall I should mention. The weather changes periodically, so you'll go from clear skies to foggy to raining. Again, it's like kind of like I mentioned with the enemies. There's no real specific reason as to why. It's just a fun little detail that developers decided to put in, and it just sort of adds to the charm of the game. That's what you'll find is something I like about this game quite a bit. Is it's got a lot of really nice little bits of charm here and there, which is always a good thing. It's always a plus for me. You know, stuff like that always makes it so much easier for me, especially with older games like this. It makes it so much easier for me to go back to them. I actually recently just started playing, as an example. Recently just started replaying Earthbound. I've got it on my SNES Classic, and man, like, as archaic as some of the little weird RPG systems are in that game, it's the charm that allows me to sort of ignore all that and be like, oh, but it's very colorful and fun and well written. And this game has a similar thing going for it. It's, you know, it's fun to look at, it's fun to listen to, it's got some awesome fucking music and amazing enemy design. You know, it's got it's got voice acting. We don't have to put a quality adjective on there. We can just it's voice acting. The game has it. Oh, and look, this is our first weird thing. So, got the soul of the wolf, which, by the way, just to explain one more time, I don't know if I mentioned this. So the game itself, the whole game, you're basically picking up different relics. That's all your upgrades and stuff. Here's the menu of all the ones I've gotten so far. So I've gotten like the Cube of Zoe, which causes items to materialize, allows stuff to fall from candles. Spirit Orb shows how much damage I'm doing to enemies. Soul of a wolf, I can now do this. So also, too, I want you to take a very hard look at this wolf. I know it might be tough because, you know, chunky pixels on in a high-def context, but if you notice his front legs are backwards, I it took me a while to finally understand why it looks so weird to me. The hind legs are fine. They look like dog legs. His front legs, though, are totally wrong. They're backwards. I don't know what happened during development. I'm assuming that the graphic artist just didn't, when they were applying this, like doing this whole pixel thing together, because it's pretty clear. I'm pretty sure the legs are separate like pixel objects, but the front legs are clearly backwards. Like it looks so wrong when you finally have it pointed out to you. It looks wrong. Like, I mean, it just looks disgusting. It's like he's got fucking, I don't know, KFC chicken leg feet. It's just weird. I don't know what that means, by the way, but you can, we can slap that on a lunchbox and maybe sell it with my name on it. KFC chicken leg feet. Okay, so now we're gonna go to the next major area of the game. This is actually a pretty short bit, but it also has one of my favorite music tracks in the game. So I'm gonna be quiet for just a little bit and let it kind of go its course, so that you can kind of get an idea of what I mean by this game just having one of the best, just some of the best music I've ever heard ever. So. I'm sorry to interrupt the music like that, but I need to check what I just picked up. What is this? Oh. Oh, what a piece of shit. No. Nope. It occurs to me I'm choosing to be kind of quiet and I'm in the library. It's like it's weirdly appropriate, though I don't think I planned it that way. Okay, and just to explain what I just picked up, I got the fairy scroll, which obviously it displays the enemy's name, which saves me a lot of trouble because now I don't have to pull all these damn enemy names from pure memory. And also, you know, spellbooks. Spellbooks can try to kill you, and you know, again. Also, too, you'll notice, obviously, you can tell this is a PlayStation game, because obviously it's a 2D game, but anytime the developers could get in some kind of 3D asset or 3D 3D anything, it's like they kind of jump at the opportunity. So you're gonna see that, not so much with enemies, but backgrounds and other objects. You'll start to notice it. So now we're gonna meet yet another spoken dialogue character.
Long time, old one.
Eh? Why, it's Master Alucard. Come to visit, have we?
I need your help.
Oh, but young Master, I could never betray the good Count.
You won't go unrewarded.
Really? In that case, just tell me what you need.
Yeah, his voice actor is awful compared to the original. If only because he doesn't sound absolutely just,
How about this?
you know, "Oh, there! What does the young master need?" Like, that's what he's supposed to sound like, and he doesn't sound like that anymore. I guess it kind of fits overall. That, like, I think it makes more sense a little bit, but not by much.
Thank you.
Anything worth a damn to get? Get a leather hat. Any weapon I could? No. Ah, fuck it. I'll get the hat. Seems weirdly appropriate. Yeah. Okay. Slightly better defense, so I can live with that. But yeah, so that's the librarian. He's the item merchant in the game. Need to buy something, go to him. He's admittedly, you actually get better stuff by well, basically just like any other JRPG that has ever existed, any RPG that has ever existed, not just JRPGs, just RPGs in general. What you find out in the field will obviously be much better. I wonder, I still wish I knew how to do that trick. There's a way you can kind of cheat. You can use the transportation to buffer yourself up somehow. I'm not quite sure how it works, but I figured I was curious to see how this game would handle it. Because actually earlier today I was running a just kind of a quick test run, because this is the first time I've actually played this version of Symphony of the Night. And this is earlier this afternoon. It's now 11:17 currently as I'm playing this at the moment. And I kid you not, like there's a trick. If you remember at the beginning of the game, Death came and took all my items. Well, in the original PlayStation game, there is a somewhat goofy trick that you can do to essentially get literally knocked flying through the cutscene. Like, you literally skip Death and the cutscene, jump into the next room, and you get to keep all of your high level, beginning game stuff, beginning equipment. You can keep all of it. Well, incidentally, this game you can do it too, though I didn't actually try to do it earlier when I did it. I thoroughly did it by accident. I walked into the room, slid back, got back out, music in the game completely stopped, which confused me, and then before I knew what was happening, I had actually accidentally skipped Death whilst keeping all of my equipment, not realizing how at all what actually I did, and I'm still a little iffy on quite how I did it. As a matter of fact, when I went through that section beginning of this recording, I actually got a little nervous when I was heading to that part where Death shows up, because I was afraid I might actually accidentally do it again. Because part of the fun of this game, like if you start the game with all of that stuff and you keep it instead of getting it taken away from you, like it trivializes the rest of the game to the point where it's just not really worth playing. Like it's just really not. It just becomes kind of like, oh look, I'm really OP. Look, everything just dies. Just not very fun. Kind of kills a little bit of the tension of going into new areas, fighting, slightly stronger enemies, and trying to figure out, okay, what's the best way to handle this, instead of just literally mincing through everything that you come across, because if I look at you, you die. Ooh, damn bones. I'm actually gonna go a little further than I thought I was. I actually got everything I wanted, and I was gonna stop at that last save point, but since I'm actually making better time than I did with the initial, oh my god, the microphone sounds like shit video. I'm gonna go a little bit further, because I want to at least give any prospective returning audience, because I'm dead serious. I'm actually serious this time. I'm gonna get through this whole game, and I'm gonna actually record it, and it's actually going to be on my channel, and people will actually be able to freely watch it, assuming I don't get flagged for something, which in this day and age, I would not be shocked, especially considering the publisher involved with this. But I figure I could give anybody who's interested in seeing the next part of this lovely playthrough, give them a taste of what to expect. Actually, there's two different ways I could go, but I'm gonna go the way I know to go, the way I usually go anyway. I guess to explain what I'm about to do, excuse me, oh my god. I've actually been trying to get a decent sleep schedule going, and I'm actually finding myself yawning at a normal time now, instead of it being 4 in the morning and I'm just like literally wide awake. I picked up the Jewel of Open from the librarian. I bought it from him for 500 gold. It is the most explicitly specific relic in the game. Can open locked blue doors. That's all it does. And I believe there's only 2 blue doors in the entire game, and they're both in the same area of the castle. Or no, I take that back. One's here, and then one's in the marble gallery. But, oh look.
Alucard, wasn't it? We meet again.
So it seems.
As friendly as ever, I see. It's strange. This castle's different than I remember it.
This castle is a creature of chaos. With each rebirth, it takes a new form.
And here I thought my mind was playing tricks. Well, there's nothing for it. Till we meet again.
See, I really don't. Let's see. Honestly, I don't mind most of the retranslated stuff that I've seen so far, but that particular exchange I do find a little problematic, because in the original PlayStation game, Maria says something to the effect of, after Alucard explains how the castle works, oh, it's a creature of chaos. Anytime it comes back, it's always different. Maria in the original says something like, so I can't trust my memories then. Right? Something, all right, thanks for the tip, whatever, I'll see you later. In this one, she sounds like I don't know, she just kind of sounds dumb in this one. I don't think that's I don't think that's necessarily the fault of the voice actress. I think that's more to do with the voice direction, but I don't know. It's like they aged her down? Or maybe this is more appropriate, because again, when she was in Rondo of Blood, Maria was like 6 years old. Or something, 8. So it all really doesn't make sense, because it's supposed to take 4 years after Rondo of Blood, and she looks like a full-grown fucking adult, you know? Well, her sprite looks like a 16-year-old, her portrait looks like a full-grown adult, and her voice sounds like a 14-year-old. I don't know. I don't know. Just an odd complaint. But yes, I think I'm going to call it for this part anyways. I think I've played enough. I'm now in the chapel, which is one of my favorite areas of the game. I think it's got one of the coolest pieces of music also in the game, and it's got some really cool backgrounds, really cool enemies in it too, so I'm very excited to get to it. Hopefully if you stayed through this entire video, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. It's I don't know, I just do this for fun, and just kind of toss it out there on the internet, and if somebody enjoys it, great. In any case, if you have any kind of questions or concerns, tips, tricks, critiques, anything, by all means leave it in the comments section. It's open, free range, I don't care. I will probably read everything I get if I get anything. In the meantime, hopefully I will be back at this. I don't know how many parts this is going to be. It's probably going to be several, because this game is actually surprisingly dense for what it is. So just be on the lookout. Hopefully